Hello and welcome to the Copper State Marching Podcast, sponsored by the Arizona Marching Band Association. I'm Aaron Vogel.
And I'm Mark Hodge. The Copper State Podcast was created to bring together the Arizona marching band community and to connect, educate, and entertain those involved in this wonderful activity.
Our goal is to introduce our audience to some of our state's wonderful directors, staff, and adjudicators, and promote our circuit and our season shows. In this episode, we speak with longtime members of the Arizona band community, David Duarte, Director of Bands at Evergreen High School, now in Vancouver, Washington, and podcast host for the Culture Before Content podcast presented by Music for All and sponsored by Yamaha. Started teaching in the fall of 1990.
And we have Bud Hilditch, a legend in the Arizona band community. He started at Cortez High School, went to Thunderbird High School, and ended up in Deer Valley High School. He has taught since 1969 and is still subbing in the Prescott School District. Welcome, Bud and David.
Yeah, welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
So first question I wanted to start this out with is, when you hear the phrase Arizona Marching Band, what's the very first memory that pops up into your head?
Who gets to go first?
Let's start with Bud.
Probably ASU Band Day.
In lots of different ways, right? Like the growth and maturation of it over time, right?
Yes, well, you know, way back in the day, all the band days had mass bands, and
I remember that.
everybody performed at halftime.
It was during a football game, right?
Yes, halftime at a football game.
So I don't think the facilities guy at ASU was living at the time, because he wouldn't have let it happen, because it would have, according to them, it would have messed up the field.
Yeah, I think one of the last times we marched at ASU, they had a tarp over the painting on the 50-yard line of ASU,
Wow.
so we wouldn't mess it up. And then kids tripped over the tarp.
Of course they did. So that was a mass band. So all band directors or many band directors in Arizona would bring their bands. It would be at the halftime of a football game. And then you would perform a selection of music out there?
Multiple selections.
Multiple selections. What were some of the tunes?
Oh, now that's a long time ago. I remember at the U of A one year, the guest conductor was Dr. Ravelli.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So
Didn't we play the horse in the 80s? That was a big one. Like everybody played that one.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that. And you know,
That's what I remember.
you know, we also had uniform and instrument inspections. And you got to stand in the sun while people walked down and through your band to inspect it.
Wow.
You had to make sure your gloves were white and your shoes were spotless. But I just got to chime in here because I just want to make sure everyone knows Bud was my high school band director. So when he talks about these memories, I feel like I'm living his memories because I got to do the mass band with Bud. And it was both ASU. You never took us to NAU, Bud, but it was both ASU and U of A band days. And it was just huge. It took up the whole field.
The whole field.
Yeah. I mean, how did you know where to go out there or where to stand? Tell me some about the logistics.
Well, they knew how many people were in your band because you sent in your application, and they
By
charted
mail.
they charted you out on the field, and you had to be, I don't know, between the 30 and the 35 in front of the hash or between the hashes or whatever, and that's where you were supposed to be.
Got it. So every kid in every band had a specific coordinate. All right, to little Davy, I don't know if you went by Davy in high school, but to David, run out there. You need to stand two outside the 35 and
No, that wasn't it really. It was more just like the band in rank and file.
Yep. You
And
had your row,
between the
you had
25
your
and
line,
the
you had
30,
your row.
and you went all the way back to the hash. And even if you were big, all you had was from the hash to the front sideline, because the other band on the other side that was facing the other way had that much space. And if you were bigger than that, you guys met at the center.
got it.
Back to
Got it.
back.
So
Yeah.
everyone had their territory, so to
If I
speak.
can find it before we do this podcast, I'll throw it in here as part of the podcast. I have a picture at ASU Band Day in 1983.
Oh, I
So,
was there.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, maybe that question then for David. So when you hear that Arizona marching band phrase, what would be your first memory that would come into your head?
Well, for me, it goes back to the fact that I am the fourth child of four that all went through Thunderbird High School. So the word that comes to my mind is Nunamaker. And that's because that was like the first memory I had of marching band. And it goes back to band day. And then actually Bud, the Cortez winning state and that, first place in Arizona. And that lasted from what, 1976, 77 until 2000 and what, 9 before there was another state champion in Arizona. So my two things are Nunamaker and a state marching festival.
Okay, I'm very interested in this state marching first place because me being a relative newcomer to the state, I moved here 11 years ago. I had not heard about any of the state championship prior to this 2009.
Yeah.
Just tell me about
For
that.
the longest time, Cortez High School was the only state champion in the state of Arizona because they tried it for 1 year. And Bud will have to speak on why they got rid of it because I'm at this point I was in middle school when this happened, but
Mhm.
that was the whole thing was that Cortez had won state, but then for some reason we did not do competition right after that.
We did, they did it in marching, concert, and jazz. And Cortez was the champion in all three, and they were co-champions with, I think, is it Bill Sylvester at Camelback?
That is correct.
Yep.
So they shared the
Name
concert,
drop. Yeah,
but
that's great.
they were champions in all three.
Amazing. And Cortez
I
and
don't,
Glen, for folks who are listening who might not be familiar, that's, in the Glendale Union High School District.
yeah,
What are
it's
the
off
what are the crossroads on that one? But
Dunlap and 27th Avenue.
yeah,
27th. Yeah.
right in the dead center of Phoenix, right?
Right by the water treatment plant where Metro Center used to be. Come on.
Oh, memories.
And next to the canal, right by the canal.
It was right by the canal.
Yep.
That's great.
Well, man, maybe another follow-up question for you. And you just mentioned, one of the other, maybe perhaps mentors here is, who were some of your mentors or your inspirations, especially earlier in your career? And this one will go with Bud.
Oh my. I'd have to go with Grant Wolfe and Fred Forney at Mesa Community College. And David, when did we go to Fullerton for the first time?
That was 1984. I will be the memory specialist for today's episode.
I started doing festivals in California, and I ended up with some of the best friends and mentors a teacher could ask for. I think that first clinic we went to before our first Fullerton festival lasted, I don't know, 2.5 to 3 hours, and we did one song. And a guy that gave us that clinic, Jim Linehan, has been a dear friend ever since. And I met Jeff Tower from Hemet High School and Alan Carter, and who am I forgetting, David?
My goodness, all of those California folks really helped shape. And so what Bud's speaking about really is that's what started Thunderbird as being the jazz program for a long, long time. It was just by chance Bud took us to California, and then it just kind of started. That's how jazz is supposed to work. And Bud is to me the father of jazz in Arizona.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I love that. How about for you, David, who, in addition to your band director that's here, your high school band director, what
Well,
were some of your mentors from earlier
that
in your
goes
career?
without saying. Bud was like,
Yeah.
Bud has been my friend since I've been a child. Like you asked me when the last time I talked to Bud, and I talk to Bud all the time. He still comes to listen to my band. We'll FaceTime him and have him in. But if you want to think about people that that helped me out growing up, Phil Hatler, Gilbert. Back in the day, Bill Richardson was the ultimate and amazing, back in the day. And, just those, everyone who was so giving, Ken Tittlebaugh even in Nogales was also a huge inspiration. A lot of people don't realize how big that program was down there and what a nice
Really big.
human. Yeah, and and really a big shout out to all the university folks too, because they really helped shape me growing up and all that stuff. And all, all Bud's people became my people. I still talk to Alan Carter all the time, and it's just kind of like, it's how band's supposed to work. You network, you meet people, I talked to Bill Richardson on the phone the other day because one of my brand new coworkers ran into Bill at DCI finals, and I get this, hey, someone wants to talk to you, and it was Bill. And it just brings back the amazing that he is. But there's a lot of amazing people in the state of Arizona that have had huge impacts.
I'd agree with all those. All the guys, ones you guys have mentioned impacted me also because both of you handed them off to me to say, if you need this, talk to this guy. If you needed this, talk to that guy. And the same thing, I would emphasize that with Bill Jr. And just great mentor to all of us and a level-headed, wise, I don't know. He's just great.
Yes, he is. And
Yeah.
he gets a lot of that from his father.
Yeah.
And his dad was my cooperating teacher in college.
Wow.
How about that?
So that is the Wayback Machine because his dad retired from teaching band in Casa Grande, right? Or was it Coolidge? Somewhere in there.
He retired in Tucson, didn't he? At
I,
Palo Verde High School.
oh, maybe he did. Maybe he
Bill
did.
was at Casa Grande.
Okay. Wow.
So, Bud, did you student teach rather at Casa Grande High School?
No, it was Palo Verde in Tucson.
Palo Verde in Tucson. Amazing. Yeah. And Bill's, we on this podcast here, we have, somewhat like three generations here. And Bill was, a huge mentor to me when I moved to the state, doing the summer ambassadors tour. And he just really was a real positive supporter of me and my kids. So really appreciate him.
Yes.
I kind of want to go in another direction in the podcast here. It's just like a really funny story or maybe an unexpected story. If you watch the old Sports Center, they had the top 10 and then the not top 10. Do you have any like really funny story that you'd like to share from your time teaching that's appropriate, safe for work and safe for school and whatnot?
Oh my. David may have to correct me on this because you were in on that first clinic with Jim, right?
Yep.
And as I remember it, we rode all the way over there in a van
And a motorhome.
and a motorhome. And we
The good old days.
We stopped at Hemet High School for a clinic with Jeff. And the kids got out of that clinic, and I don't know where I was or why. I had to have been there, and I didn't think anything of it. But they got out of the clinic, and we got in the van, and we're driving, and the kids didn't say a word, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. So I finally got them to tell me what was wrong, and they said, "He said we need more long tones."
He wasn't wrong.
They hated doing long tones. They just detested it. And they got over that. And then we went to the festival and we did the clinic with Jim. And he said, "I want you to check in with me in the morning because I think I'm going to change your performance site." And we went, and I had the kids stick around so I could get in touch with them if we needed to change sites and performance times. And Jim caught me, and they moved us. And they moved us from novice to advanced A.
Wow.
And I looked at Jim with a puzzled face, and he said, "You'll be just fine." And we went in and played. And you have to step in if I don't remember this correctly, Dave. But we didn't have a a good run through. It wasn't even an average run through for the band room. We didn't play poorly. We just didn't.
Sound like us.
Yeah, it didn't sound like Thunderbird. And the kids came by and they threw all their instruments in the van and the motor home, and then they disappeared. And the parents were like, what are they mad about? I said, well, we didn't have a good run through. And at Fullerton, they had all these large, how big were the poster things? Like, they were huge.
Yeah, they're huge.
And for every site, they listed all the bands and their grades in the square for everybody to see. And I think it was Dave who came back on campus and looked, and up till noon there was nothing posted, and at 1 o'clock there's nothing posted. And then by about 2 o'clock, the kids started coming back and showing up, and I think Dave saw it, and we received straight ones. So now all the kids showed up, and they were shaking their heads and saying, what if we'd have had an average run through? Just nothing great, just normal for us. And we went into the auditorium for the awards ceremony that night. And when they got to our division, Advanced A, the host or the master of ceremony, it wasn't Jim making the announcement. Maybe it was Terry Blackley. I don't remember. And they called out, and in third place from Glendale, Arizona, Thunderbird High School. And the whole place went quiet. And I looked at Jeff and I said, what's going on? And he said, well, go get your plaque and come back and I'll tell you. Walked down, and who was the kid that met me on stage and took the plaque?
Oh, I don't remember that part.
Okay. I thought there was a kid there. And I came back and talked to Jeff, and he said, you just shocked everybody. You are the first school from out of state to ever place in this festival. And that's why everybody was so quiet, because we were an outsider.
Mm. Yeah.
So that's not necessarily funny, but that was kind of the start of Thunderbird.
What a great memory for your kids, especially the one in front of above you in the picture. So Dave, you have a memory as a director similar to that, or
Well, I can go on the funny route because it kind of goes back to, like, here it is, this is year 36. How am I been teaching for 36 years when I'm only like 29? But I think the first memory I have that's funny had to be U of A Band Day. And it was when I was teaching with Bud at Thunderbird. And if anybody knows U of A Band Day, it was like, to me, it was like the whole campus was the U of A Band Day. You could have warmed up somewhere near Jack in the Box, or you could have been over by Circle K. But I just remember we were over by Tucson High, and we started to go to our warm up. But I don't remember who was doing it. It might have been Tempe High. It might have been Scott Lang's band, for all I know. They were doing a Jurassic Park show, and they had the fake dinosaurs. And our band just ends up walking up, and they just start playing. We didn't play this, by the way. They just started playing Jurassic Park at the dinosaur. And it just it just made me laugh that, that's, here we are at this important competition. And what do the kids get into? They wanted to play the dinosaur song from Jurassic Park at the dinosaur.
yeah.
Wow.
I have a really quick funny story, Dave. You can relate to this, and Bud, you probably can too. But there was when I was 7 years, I was at Goldwater as what's the word I'm looking for? An adamant Wildcat, right? I decided I would never go to ASU Band Day, right? I'm just going to go to U of A. And my last year at Goldwater, I went to ASU Band Day, and I probably had that with Goldwater, and I had probably the best warm up I ever had in the parking lot. Everything was clicking. I'm like, this is going to be great. I might show up at ASU. It's going to be great. And we go out on the field, and the clouds open up and just shoot the rain down, and they closed it down the event for the rest of the day. So, and then I was going back, and we were loading up, and the kids were like, see, we should never have come to ASU Band Day. That was our funny story.
Oh, I think that was around my Deer Valley time because I do
Yeah,
believe I got stuck in the underneath and I had Thunderbird High School right next to Arcadia High School
yeah,
while I was at Deer Valley. It was like the meeting of all the bands that I had ever taught at in the same tunnel.
that's awesome.
Now, I know Mark's at U of A, and David, I'm pretty sure, is at U of A, but are you one of the state institutions yourself?
Yes, I am. U of A.
Go Cats.
Okay. Good.
That's all I'm
Three
saying.
Wildcats. And three Wildcats, and I believe the football team is 3-0. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That is correct.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to
There you
double
go.
check, but it is correct.
No, it is
Yeah.
correct. I watched every game so far.
That's great. Well, this one maybe, more sentimental question of, and looking back in your career here in Arizona, what are you most proud of? Is there a specific event or a specific student that you had that you're most proud of? And we'll start with David.
That's gonna be hard because the career I have. I mean, I have students that I'm proud of. If I'm gonna go in a couple of ways. I'm just gonna do this. It's your students. My quartet students that went to Mountain Ridge were probably one of the highlights of my career ever. Watching four students give their best and play their best. And for one, my band playing at Midwest in '06 is probably the pinnacle of, where my career went, of something that I never expected. And it just kind of that was like the moment I felt like I had finally done something right as a band director, and it still to my date is probably the best memory of something. And here's the weird part: I don't even remember the experience because I was so shell shocked when we were there. I was shell shocked we made it, but that performance in Chicago,
It was a great performance.
it
Great.
was amazing. The kids were fantastic.
You had a lot of people from Arizona there to support you too. That year, there was a lot of people that came because you were there. So I was one of them.
Yeah, and funny story on that too, David. There was a young band director just starting out his career that also happened to see that performance from out of state, and I remember that well.
And it was in the old Hilton and back in the old days.
Yeah.
I mean, there was
Hilton
that was
Towers.
probably that was a huge audience that we played. I mean, huge audience that we played for.
Yeah, good old
Really,
Hilton
really special.
Towers. Did you
Yeah,
ever
and
go to Midwest, Bud?
No. We auditioned for and were accepted to two of the international conferences for IAJE. And we played, David and I did the first, was it 95 or 94? It was 94, 95.
It was 94, 95 school year, if that helps.
Okay. And then I I had a pretty good band. I knew I was going to have a good band in 2004, and I submitted a tape, and you had to submit a live tape from a performance,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so they knew that there was no overdubbing or anything, and I agree with that. And I submitted in '04 so we could get Thunderbird High School back in front of the judges, so that we'd have a better band in '05. So I wanted to reapply in '05 and go. And we got the letter back and it said we were accepted. And '04 was in New York City and '05 was in Los Angeles. So a bus to Los Angeles was much easier to
Much.
fundraise for than a flight to New York City.
Yeah.
But so we did two of those international conferences. We did one Western Division conference, and the one in New York City, like David said, it takes you a while to come down from that performance.
Yeah.
People distracted me during the warm-up tuning period, and they're now all ready to introduce us, and they're introducing us, and I look at the band and I mouth, "Did you tune?" And they smiled and said, "Yes, we did." So we kicked off and had a really fantastic performance, and
That's great.
the band parents had bought us tickets to what is it? Can't think of the musical, the one with the mask.
Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera. And we were going to go see that live. And they took all the kids and they're going off to lunch. And the parents looked at me funny. And Cindy said, no, he has to come down. He has to relax before. So I got the lecture about not being late. And I walked into the theater and sat down, and Cindy handed me 2 granola bars and said, here's your lunch. Everybody else had lunch and I had granola bars. But it takes time. I mean,
Yeah.
How did you feel about that when you had those big performances, Aaron?
Incredible. Yeah, and that one that David mentioned with the kids playing at Midwest, that's, to me, that's sort of their performance level and their professionalism in that performance, and the way that they were able to do that is still, the number one performance of any kids that I had. Like, they were pros in that moment, and I've had some great performances, but never one where I could just say from top to bottom, okay, just like that, and it's such a cool thing. So, as you know, Bud, Dave's a master teacher, and so just to be able to be the beneficiary of him and the great lesson instructors there was a nice thing. that was a really nice thing. So, well, we're almost out of time here. We like to end our podcast with shout outs. So shout outs of anyone or anything that you'd like to shout out at all. And we'll start with Bud.
Oh my. I would just like to thank all of my former students who were absolutely just wonderful people. And I love them to this day. They were so hardworking and so honest and so sincere. They really made my career truly memorable. Just it was a great experience. I had truly great students. And then all the people that helped in Arizona, my cooperating teacher and all of my mentors. I just had all the help and honesty that you need to become successful.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how about for you, Dave?
I think it goes to 3 sets. Yeah, shout out to every student that I've ever had, because they're really the ones that did all the work. I was just around. Shout out to them. Shout out to all my colleagues. I've been in how many districts? Glendale Union, Tempe, Scottsdale. And Deer Valley ended up becoming the place I stayed for 19 years, and my family, and when I went to the district office, Bud took over for me. So it was like a very surreal moment. But, if it wasn't for that community, Mark and I taught together in Goldwater, and all the legends, Steve Peterson back in the day, you got to think of all the people, coach at even though I'm a U of A grad, coach at ASU was one of the people, and Dr. Strange are probably the 2 people that, that shaped me. Thanks. Shout out to Joe Wideco for actually making me, but it really, shout out to Mike Watts at Camelback, who made me the sax player that I am. John Gomez, Scott Lang. Those are my buddies growing up. We used to have dinner at their house on on Sundays. But it's just, there's not one thing to thank, but there's so many people that make you successful. And the truth is it's the kids that make us look good.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Bud. Thank you,
Very
Dave.
seriously,
Yeah.
Bob Fleming was always there.
Yeah, he was.
And Dick Strange, those 2 guys they'd drive all the way to Thunderbird on their motorcycles.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just wonderful. And Grant Wolfe and Fred Forney and Steve Peterson and Dick Main.
Yeah.
Just great people.
We're going to get cut off here pretty quick. So thanks, guys, for coming, and great talking to you. We'll do this again. I think we only got to half of our questions, so we might have to do this again sometime.
Bummer.
Hey, thank you so much to David Duarte and to Bud Hilditch for our podcast. We also want to thank everyone who came out to the ACMBA Elevate event at Campo Verde High School this last weekend. Dean Westman just did an incredible job with that clinic. I know Mark and I were both there. Mark, what a great clinic, right?
Yeah, he was great. Lots of information, lots of kind of like with Dr. Tim, you get all the sayings that he has, the we and the us, the I and the me, and all that stuff. And he had a lot of those for the judges to like really focus on what's good for the community of pageantry, right? So he had a lot of great things to say. It was great.
Yeah, folks who went to the event, look out. I'll send out an email with the slides and some information. And also a huge thanks to our partner, UDB, for sending out Adrian Caswell. Adrian also did an incredible job. I'll send out the slides from his visual presentation. It was really fantastic. And we want to thank UDB for sponsoring that event. Look out for that email where we'll get some freebies from UDB as well. I also want to just say the All-Star Marching Band, we've got incredible registration numbers that by the time this podcast airs, that registration will be closed. So for the directors, just a reminder to get your recommendations in as soon as you can. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and we're also looking forward to this coming weekend. Our first season, the season is officially beginning. We have our Casa Grande Eval Plus show. The first band is on the line at 4:30 p.m. out in Casa Grande at Casa Grande High School. And then we have the Perry show, Eval Plus. And their show starts about 3:45, and all of them end around 9:15. And it's going to be a great opportunity. You have more information on who's judging and the way it's going to be run, Aaron?
Yeah, so for the participating bands, this is such a great opportunity because they'll have a music specific judge, a visual specific judge, and then a student specific judge. So kids will run the show. Those music and visual judges will talk with the directors, and then the student focused judge will be there giving a clinic to the kids while everyone's talking, and then kids will get a chance to do the show again. A lot of great things can happen during that time, and those judges can also be talking in real time while the students are performing with that director. We'd love to have huge audience members here too. So for the students who are listening, if you have the weekend off, let's say your band isn't coming out to this show, what a great chance to see high school bands early here in Arizona at Casa Grande and at Perry. So,
yeah,
well,
I also wanted to mention that I'll be out at the Casa Grande show with a mic and an iPhone to kind of be out in the field in the stands to ask students and directors how they're excited about the upcoming season and some of the things they're looking forward to, and then they'll be on our next podcast also.
Hey, how about that? So you get to see great marching bands early on and chance to get on the pod, kids. Let's come on out.
There you go.
Right on. Thanks,
Great.
everyone.
All right.
Take care.